Hello, everyone, and welcome to Block Party number 198, starting at 8:30 a.m. with food healers, and then we'll jump into the topics that I'm about to discuss at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Um, Today, Friday, October 11th, and we meet here every Friday for the Block Party. I usually join at around 11 a.m. Pacific time. And again, Food Healer starts at 8:30, and you're welcome to come and go as you please. As the subject of this block party email that I'm sending out along with this video indicates, the first thing I'm talking about is beating the blues. And when I talk about the blues, I think you know what I'm talking about. The planet's overheating exponentially. The Amazon is suffering tremendously. We've got these massive hurricanes. Our polar ice caps are melting. I mean, the situation is really, really bad. And we're committed to doing everything we can to ameliorate the situation, to mitigate these risks and actually cool the planet, as we talk about every Tuesday in our PFCP meetings, People's Forum for Cooling the Planet, which starts at 11 a.m. Pacific time right here in this same Zoom room every Tuesday. So, regarding beating the blues, I mean, there's what I mentioned, there's all the other crises within the poly crisis, wars, World War III, threats of nuclear war, etc. Hunger, poverty, suffering of myriad different kinds, and destruction of the biosphere. I could go on and on. You know the laundry list. And I'm just saying, that alone is enough to get us down. But another aspect of the blues is that a bunch of us have been working, a whole lot of us, yourself included, probably have been working on solutions, including meta solutions and myriad levels of solutions for years, for decades now. And, as one of us asked on our this last Tuesday meeting, what have we got to show for it? And so for me, that's another big part of the blues is that, it's not like we haven't been working really hard at this. And so I just want to create some space for us to share our frustrations in that department. For the most part, I mean, like 99% of the time, we're being very, very positive and moving forward. And what can we do? And let's make a plan and let's execute on that plan, et cetera. And we've done a lot of positive things. And so I'm not suggesting we let up on any of that positivity or determination. I'm just saying from time to time, it actually makes sense to take a step back and, feel our frustration, express our frustration, et cetera. Not to languish in it, not to, let that become the dominant theme or anything like that. But, just take a little time out and allow ourselves to feel it, and share about it with each other, and then get back to work. And speaking of getting back to work, the other part of the subject of today's email is a proposed story for the Media Alliance. And I encourage everyone to check out the video. It's a 1 hour video about the Media Alliance. I know it's kind of long, but it's got some really good stuff in there. You might skip past the first few minutes of introduction and get to the part where Roger Briggs is getting into the details of it. At least watch a few minutes of it. Get a feel for it is my request. And in a nutshell, it's about all the different transformational groups, organizations, communities that are working together and having meetings like ours, like the Block Party, like PFCP. How do we come together in, undefined ways and to break through to the rest of the world, the vast majority of whom are not in anywhere near these level of conversations. I've got all kinds of stories about why that is, that we're all addicted to making it or trying to make it within the current paradigm. Civilizations are addicted to the current paradigm. So addiction is a major theme. Um, and, part of me wants to do some sort of an intervention, right, on humanity and say, hey, let's all intervene this way. But I think a much more, even though that may be the reality and that may actually be what we're doing is a form of intervention, but how do we say it, right? Obviously, when you're doing an intervention, your buddy Joe, the drug addict, comes home and we're all waiting for Joe in the living room. And we say, Joe, we're doing an intervention. And there it's very clear. In this case, in the case of our planetary crisis, the poly crisis, and the fact that the vast majority, I mean, I'm talking like at least 99.9% of humanity, at least, um, is, kind of blissfully unaware of the poly crisis or not so blissfully deluded about it because, again, we're all, so busy feeding our addictions. Um, Again, addiction to making it within the current paradigm is how I put it in, a half dozen words or less. And um, so even though intervention may be the thing that we're actually doing, uh, the way it's all in how you say it. And so what if we said it in a different way? What if we spun a story that I think is actually the reality? So take a look here. What if we indulged in a story that's very positive and that includes everyone from the get-go? So here, let me just go ahead and screen share what I've been sketching up here. All right. So imagine that each of these little dots you see in the middle of this lower middle of the screen here. Imagine each of these little dots represents a person who is engaged in conversation about a better world, right? And imagine that the story goes, we have all dreamed of a better world. I mean, who has not dreamed of a better world? We all do, right? No matter where you come from. However, up until a few years ago, our conversations about a better world were really limited to a specific group of people, right? That's what I'm going to write here in the lower right, a group of people who we know and who we trust and who we feel comfortable sharing our ideas about a better world with, right? That's the vast majority of these conversations about a better world up until a few years ago. And then we started having conversations, I'm just going to say up here in the cloud. We started having conversations in the cloud. And part of the reason that emerged was because, in the different groups of people who are having these conversations about a better world, a better future, solving the world's problems, etc., within any group of people, you probably had a fair amount of divergence in perspective, in foundational beliefs, in ideas about what a better world might look like, etc. And then a few years ago, and we had a big acceleration of this in 2020 during COVID, but conversations started happening in the cloud. And then people were no longer constrained to meet only with people in their immediate group, their immediate vicinity, their neighbors, their friends, people they hang out with on a Saturday night, colleagues of theirs, for example, in a university, in a philosophy department. I'm sure they talk about a better world a lot with their colleagues and whatnot. But anyway, now we're no longer constrained to those groups that we were sort of defaulted into because of geography, profession, etc. But suddenly now there are these conversations up in the cloud that anyone anywhere in the world can participate in, and in fact are invited to participate in. How good a job these meetings in the cloud did at communicating to the world their existence, that's exactly the topic of the Media Alliance and the frustration behind the formation of the Media Alliance. We're not breaking through. But nonetheless, a lot of these conversations did break through to certain groups, communities, and so a lot of these conversations started forming in the cloud. And people were able to, invite their friends. Hey, come join us. We're having this cool conversation here. Da 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 da. So a whole bunch of these conversations started happening about a better world and how to solve the world's problems and how to realize the potential and opportunities that await us in a better world. And so, just consider that story for a moment. Consider this story of humanity coming together in conversations that happen all around the world in the cloud that anyone's invited to. That's really what we're talking about with the Media Alliance. So now we basically have two kinds of conversations happening, those that are happening in person and those that are happening up in the cloud. So imagine that the story is that, hey, we've all been dreaming of a better world, and from time to time we talk about it. A lot of us talk about it a lot of the time. Most of us talk about it every now and then. But the bottom line is we've all been in conversations and thoughts and dreams about a better world. And now, thanks to these conversations up in the cloud, there is now a whole bunch of these conversations about a better world and about planning for the transition that we're all in the midst of. And that transition is growing more intense for the reasons I talked about a few minutes ago, the problems of the poly crisis, et cetera. And so now it's more important than ever that the world come together in conversation, and that people find those conversations that where they can add the most value and express their passion and potential. And ultimately, the whole big idea of a network of networks of these conversations, that's the topic I delve into in the 30-minute video that I'll also link to in the email. So please have a look at that. In fact, I'll put these also as well in the description of this YouTube video, so you can click on the links there as well. But my proposal is for the Media Alliance is precisely this story, a story that says, and I'll get off screen share here, hey, we've all been dreaming of a better world. That way, everyone's included from the get-go, and we don't have this hierarchical divide between, oh, those very special people amongst us who formed the Media Alliance and have been in these transformational groups and conversations, and the rest of you all who are kind of lagging behind. No, let's bring us all to the same level. We've all been dreaming of a better world. We've all been talking about it. And the story is that these conversations are now happening more and more. And so the invitation is not necessarily so much, hey, come join our special conversation over here. No, join ours over here. So we've had all this competition amongst the members of the Emergent Media Alliance, and maybe that's okay, maybe it's not, whatever. I'm not making any judgment call on that, just the reality. But again, instead of making the message, hey, come join my special conversation or my special community over here or over there, how about, hey, we've all been thinking, and most of us have been talking about a better world. How do we all bring our conversations together in a network of networks that's totally decentralized? Forget about Jamin Shively, forget about the block party, forget about anything that I'm involved in or that you're involved in. Think about the bigger picture, right? Think about the decentralized network of networks of conversations. And let's make the story about that and about, hey, if you're having a conversation about this with your friends, whatever, great. Think about bringing it to the cloud. Think about bringing it to Zoom or some other platform. And, let's all work together on bringing our conversations into a more integrated and hyperlinked network of networks of transformational conversations, leading to action, leading to transformational projects, programs, transformations. We need to transform who we are as a species. We need to evolve to Homo ahimsa, I believe. Now I'm on my soapbox. Well, let's all get on our soapboxes and have a soapbox derby and share with each other through the network of networks of conversations our dreams for a better world, our proposals for, for example, how to cool the planet. That for me, that's probably the single most urgent thing. We need to cool the planet. I read today's New York Times article about, oh, the climate crisis and this and that. They're only focused on fossil fuels. If we reduce fossil fuel emissions, we accelerate the overheating of the planet. So how did we get from the planet's overheating to a myopic focus on fossil fuel emissions reduction, which is a tiny, tiny part of the whole thing? Anyway, we talk more about that in PFCP meetings on Tuesdays. I'm not trying to divert the conversation to that. So what am I doing? I'm saying that we urgently need to bring our conversations together and let shine a big bright light on all of them, including your conversations that you're having that we're inviting you to bring to the cloud, so that we can all come together, identify what's most important, identify what needs to be done. In the case of global warming, solar radiation modification or solar radiation management. Most people don't even know about that. So anyway, the story again, we've all been thinking and dreaming of a better world. Most of us have been talking about it, mostly with our friends, people we know and trust, etc. Increasingly, these conversations are happening up in the cloud. So consider bringing your conversation to the cloud. Consider checking out the conversations that are happening up in the cloud. And that's the invitation. Through conversation, through collective human intelligence, through the emergent network of networks of conversations, together, we can achieve a better world. We can co-create the transition from where we are now in the poly crisis to this much more beautiful world our hearts know is possible, to paraphrase Charles Eisenstein. All right, look forward to seeing you on today's block party. Look forward to seeing you every Tuesday and every Friday. Again, I usually jump in around 11 a.m. Pacific time and hang out for several hours. Very excited to see you all. Bring your own thoughts, bring your own proposals. Oh, yeah, that's one other thing I was going to say for the Media Alliance. Okay, so this is the story I propose. What story do you propose for the Media Alliance? What story do you propose that we, together as a Media Alliance, convey to humanity? What sort of invitation? What sort of whatever? I don't know. So bring your best ideas. Let's talk about it. So my proposal for the Media Alliance is that we get together and talk about all these different proposals. Maybe do a big World Cafe process where we all come together and spend half an hour in the main room and then go to breakout rooms in smaller groups and hash out these ideas, then come back to the main room, summarize those, and see where we net out. We need to come together to figure this out. And so let's do it. Again, you've heard my story. What do you propose? And then, once we've started meeting, like through World Cafe processes, et cetera, one of the immediate, needs that we can address is putting together a universal calendar of all the different meetings, conversations, et cetera, that all these different transformational groups are having, so we can all have better access to those. And then regardless of what story we go out to the world with, we can point to that universal calendar. We can point to all the meetings that were happening and invite everyone to join. I mean, isn't that, a big part of kind of the next phase of objectives, is getting the world involved along with us, and that we all come together and figure out our way through the poly crisis to the other side, to that more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. Thank you so much for listening, and look forward to seeing you on the block party today and every Friday and every Tuesday as well. Thanks.